Cruise cabin balconies are not created equal. In fact, there are things that can make or break your experience, from location quirks to layout surprises and little details that most people don't think about. Hi there, I'm Ilana from the website lifewellcruise.com. Welcome back to my channel. Now, are you thinking about upgrading to a balcony cabin? Well, something that you should know is there's a lot that isn't seen in those picture-perfect photos and even on the cruise line website. In this video, I'm sharing 7 balcony watchouts that you'll want to know about before you book, including one issue that might be out of the cruise line's hands. Now, before I get started, I did want to mention that if you like this video, if you find it helpful, informative, or enjoyable in any way, then please do give this video a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Let's get started. Number 1, obstructed balcony cabins without the perfect ocean view. The lead-in and lowest price for a balcony cabin on many cruise lines will be an obstructed cabin view. And in fairness, you will see this on the cruise line website when you book. However, if you're a new cruiser, or just even if you're not paying that close attention, you might end up booking a cabin with a less than ideal view. Sometimes the obstruction might be a single pole, not such a big deal, or a window washing ladder, a ledge, or even an entire orange lifeboat view. Unfortunately, when you are booking this type of cabin, you usually won't be able to know exactly what the obstruction is, and trust me, this can make a big difference. So what can you do to avoid a disappointing cabin? Well, first of all, Google search. You can simply type in your cruise ship name along with obstructed balcony cabin reviews. And there you will find Reddit threads, you will find cruise forums, including on Cruise Critic, and of course, you are going to likely find some YouTube videos as well. Now, you can also Google search your exact cabin number. And in that way, some people may have posted photos online. And again, you may see those pictures or those reviews right on TikTok, YouTube, or Instagram Reels. Now, there are a couple of websites that can be good resources as well. This includes Cruise Mapper and cruisedeckplans.com, as well as the Shipmate app. Number 2, the wind tunnel effect. Now, you may have seen some videos of this happening, and while it can look a little bit funny, it actually has the potential to be serious. So what is a wind tunnel effect? It's when the high-speed wind from the ship's movement combines with open doors, creating an intense suction or pressure differences inside your cabin. If your balcony doors open at the same time as your main door, the air rushes through like a wind tunnel, sometimes slamming doors, rattling walls, or even knocking things over. Now, typically, this results in items flying all over the cabin, in particular, any papers that you might have lying around, and the feeling of wind through your hair. But in a worst case scenario, it can actually result in injuries, and it has. So you really have to watch your fingers near those balcony doors and the front door, as there have been cases where passengers have been injured. Number 3, public-facing balconies. Now, what are public-facing balconies? Well, these balconies are definitely less private than you might think. These are balconies where people can either look in because they're walking past your balcony, or you are actually possibly facing other balconies and you can practically see each other and say hello. Now, some examples of this include promenade decks, boardwalk areas, Central Park style courtyards, and common walking areas as well. Now, for example, on Royal Caribbean's Oasis class ships, you have the boardwalk area that you are going to be able to see carousels and the aqua show. It's a great place to be, but something that you need to know is that those balconies are going to face other balconies, and not only can those people see you, but the people walking along the boardwalk can see you as well. And of course, the same can be said for that Central Park area that is beautiful and serene. You will get a great view of the plants and even hear some music, but you will not see the ocean. Now, recently we were on board a Carnival ship, the Carnival Celebration. We stayed in a Havana cabin, and while I really loved this type of balcony, I really did find that I used it more than I expected. One of the negative points is the fact that you don't have a direct ocean view. You sort of have a lanai in a way. And what happens on that deck is that you do have all of the people that are in the Havana area that can walk straight in front of your cabin. Now, a little known fact is that on older cruise ships, you will actually find some promenade balcony cabins where the balcony goes straight out to the promenade deck. So you might walk out and see that people are walking by your cabin or even sitting on deck chairs. Now, these cabins can be great for social cruisers who like to be, in the middle of the action, but definitely not great for introverts or anybody who wants to have a quieter or even a more romantic time. Number 4, the aft-facing balcony cabin. Now, this is the view that everybody wants, but the cabin that not everybody should book. Now, aft balcony cabins have gained popularity in the last few years, and if you've seen the photos and videos, you already know why. But before you shell out the extra money for that wake view dream, let's talk about what the cruise lines don't always mention. I've stayed in an aft-facing balcony cabin before, but there are some pros and cons. Now, some pros include an often larger and deeper balcony. So oftentimes you are going to be able to put out those lounge chairs. That's definitely a plus. And of course, that wake view. Imagine having breakfast outdoors or catching the sunset. You may also find that it's a little bit more private than some of the balconies that are located along the sides of the ship. Now for the cons that you might not be prepared for. Oftentimes, this is going to be a covered balcony, and for people that are sun worshippers, they may not enjoy the darker and even more shady feel. Now, you may also feel a slightly more rumbly or vibration-like feeling in these cabins, and in particular when you are sitting on the balcony. And something that a lot of cruisers report is that you're more likely to have soot that lands on your balcony when you are in these aft cabins. Now, the soot ends up being these little black specks that land on the railing, on the chairs, and even on your clothing. Now, to be fair, this is not on every cruise ship, but this is definitely a common complaint from cruisers. Now, I am curious if you've ever stayed in an aft-facing balcony cabin, or if you'd want to, please let me know down in the comments below. Number 5, category confusion, and why you might be paying more for the exact same cabin. So 2 cabins, same layout, same furniture, same square footage, but one is $400 more than the other. Why? Well, one word, location. So how does this work? Well, cruise lines divide up their balcony cabins into subcategories, and these are oftentimes a letter and number combination. As an example, 4A, 4D, 8A, 8D, etc. Now, these categories are mostly based on location, not size or quality, meaning one cabin can cost way more than the other just because it is either midship or on a preferred deck on the cruise ship. Now, what you're really paying for is firstly a midship premium. There is going to be a premium price on a midship cabin because typically these are going to be a little bit more stable, and especially for people who worry about seasickness or motion sickness, this is typically the best area to be in. A higher deck. Now, there is no rhyme or reason necessarily to this, but many cruise passengers report preferring the higher decks on a cruise ship. Now, in some cases, this might be because perhaps there are better views, but it may also be because these are cabins that are closer to that top deck where you're going to have the pool and Lido buffet. Now, something that you are going to want to watch out for is any category names that sound fancier than they are. An example of this is a deluxe balcony cabin, or a club balcony, or a family veranda cabin. Now, these cabins are not necessarily much bigger than other cabins. They may even be the same. Something that you'll want to look for is what furnishings do they have inside the cabin? What is the square footage? And take a look at the bathroom as well to see what amenities are there. In some cases, there may be a bathtub, and that can add an additional feature. Number 6, I have a controversial cabin alert. Infinite verandas are not real balconies. Now, infinite verandas are controversial. They're advertised as modern and luxurious, but in truth, there are some people that love them. But many cruise passengers report that they just don't feel like real balconies, and there's a lot of people that hate them as well. Now, where will you find an infinite veranda? You're going to find them on Celebrity's Edge class cruise ships, and you're going to find them on Royal Caribbean's Icon class as well. So what's an infinite veranda? Well, from the outside, they look like a regular balcony, but what you're actually getting when you're inside the cabin is a floor-to-ceiling window that partially opens. The top half lowers with the touch of a button. Now, there's no actual physical outdoor space in this veranda area, and the space for the veranda or balcony is actually inside the cabin, and it contributes to your square footage. Now, to be fair, there are actually some pros and cons. We loved our infinite veranda on Celebrity Beyond. However, I also have to say we disliked our infinite veranda cabin on Celebrity Ascent. So I do have a little tip for you. I found that I preferred the configuration where the bed was located closer to the front door and the bathroom. And this way, the area closer to the veranda was the area that had the sofa. In this way, it made a nicer and larger sitting area. Now, another potential negative is the captain actually has control over those windows. So if it is rainy or stormy, you may not be able to open up your window or your veranda. Now, in contrast, if you had a regular balcony, you would be able to go out onto the balcony. If it was raining a little bit, you could still sit outdoors and get that fresh air. Number 7, your balcony is only as peaceful as your neighbors. Now, this is a reality of cruising, unfortunately. You may dream of having this quiet, private balcony, but balconies are not as private as you think. And in some cases, because the separators between everybody's balcony, let's face it, they're a little bit thin, sometimes you can hear what's going on other people's balconies. Now, this can include conversations and occasionally arguments. This can include coughing fits. This can include music sometimes. This can include intimate moments sometimes. So be aware that the balcony is not as private as you might think. Now, the other thing that some cruisers do report, especially in the last couple of years, is sometimes they're actually smelling a smell of smoke from a balcony somewhere near them. Now, to be fair, I think that this is still pretty rare, and you are not allowed to smoke on most cruise ship balconies. It's strictly forbidden, but it may happen occasionally. Now, something I do suggest is if you know that this is happening, alert guest services, because this is a potential fire hazard. Now, I'm going to leave a video right after this about some hidden cabin features that you'll really want to know about before your cruise. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Please let me know about your own balcony watchouts and experiences that we can add. I love reading your comments, and I know they help other people. Now, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give it a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it, and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Bye for now, and happy cruising.